I am not referring to some unknown major battle, but rather the single deadliest volcanic disaster in human history within the entire Northern Hemisphere. What I am referring to is the major 1902 eruption of Mount Pelée on the Caribbean island of Martinique, which would wipe out the city of Saint-Pierre. This is the story of the tragedy at Saint-Pierre, where tens of thousands perished due to a destructive pyroclastic flow and surge at 8:02 a.m. local time on May 8, 1902. But first, a bit of context. Like all volcanoes' geologic setting in the Caribbean, Mount Pelée exists due to the offshore collision of two tectonic plates to the east. There, the South American plate is subducting underneath the Caribbean plate. Partial melting then occurs on the subducted crust, causing molten rock to rise upwards, intruding into the Caribbean plate before rising to the surface and erupting, forming a chain of volcanoes. The Pelée volcano is the youngest and only active volcanic edifice on the island of French territory of Martinique, rising approximately 1,397 meters or 4,583 feet above sea level on the northwest portion of the island. The Pelée volcanic complex has been active for 550,000 years, although the first 77% of this timespan involved the construction of the precursor Montagne Pelée, also known as Mont Canil, to the northwest. The modern cone of Mount Pelée formed entirely during the last 127,000 years, formed by numerous explosive prehistoric eruptions that deposited overlapping layers of lava and ash, albeit primarily ash. The modern cone of the explosive Mount Pelée volcano almost solely erupts andesite, and I want to note that is very close compositionally to the basaltic andesite lava which constructed the not very explosive Belknap crater shield volcano in Oregon. However, despite the minor silica content difference between the two volcanoes, there is a far more important difference that made one volcano mildly explosive at worst with the other volcano being highly explosive. And that difference is that Pelée's magma contains substantially more volatile compounds, specifically water and carbon dioxide, resulting in its eruptions being far more explosive than its shield volcano counterpart. As a result, Pelée in the Holocene epoch, spanning the time period since 9700 BCE, ranks fourth in its sheer number of highly explosive VEI-4 or larger eruptions among approximately 1,300 active and potentially active world volcanoes. In other words, Pelée since 9700 BCE has produced 20 explosive eruptions of a similar or larger size than its deadly 1902 eruption, averaging an increased rate of once every 250 years during the last 2,500 years. It even ranks far higher than other well-known notoriously explosive volcanoes in the Holocene such as Vesuvius and Mount St. Helens. For reference, a VEI-4 eruption ejects greater than or equal to 100 million but less than 1 billion cubic meters of tephra, and has an eruption column that rises to more than 10 kilometers or 32,808 feet. The 1902 eruption of Pelée, for example, ended up being essentially 10%